You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Chip Gilchrist, voice of the Kingston Frontenacs. You're listening to OHL Overtime, an in-depth interview show highlighting the players, coaches, and broadcasters from around the Ontario Hockey League who make the league so great, as well as in-person coverage of events such as the OHL Playoffs, OHL Championship Series, OHL Combine, and more, exclusively on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Here's your program host, Brendan Caputo.
Welcome into another episode of OHL Overtime right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network and our game recap of the OHL Playoffs Western Conference Championship Series between the London Knights and the Kitchener Rangers. London taking this game by a 6-2 score and now lead the best-of-7 series by a 2-0 score, going back to Kitchener tomorrow night or tonight if you're listening to this the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live tonight on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our live coverage, as well as you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for all of our great reels and short content. Brandon Caputo here with you to break down this game tonight at Canada Life Place as the Knights take it. Again, we'll hear post-game thoughts from head coach Dale Hunter of the London Knights, as well as defenseman Henry Brzustewicz. And then on the Kitchener side, we'll hear from Jussi Ahokas, as well as veteran forward Trent Swick. And I'm pleased to welcome on my co-host for tonight's episode. That would be Reece Doumani, who is one half of the OHL in 60 podcast. You can go find their latest episode as well on our network on demand, and one half of the Dogcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network. Reece, thanks so much for joining us today. I know you just got back from a busy weekend watching your Detroit Tigers, and you were able to catch this game as well, so really appreciate you hopping on tonight.
Hey, not a problem. Yeah, if not for construction on the QEW, I probably would have made it for puck drop, but made it just after the London Knights made it 1-0, and I was able to catch myself up. But yeah, happy to do it. It's always a good time here.
Absolutely, and we'll hear more from Reece going forward in the OHL finals. We've got some things in the hopper coming for our finals content. But with that said, Reece, I know you've kind of been focusing on the east side with Joe Vanderlaan for the network with Barrie and Oshawa, but you were able to kind of get caught up on this, and there was a big storyline a couple nights ago with obviously Denver Barkey leaving the game, and then we had the big hit on Christian Humphreys by Kasper Halttunen early in the contest, which resulted in him leaving the game. Both players did not play in Game 2 tonight. We heard the post-game thoughts from both head coaches going back and forth about, sticking up for their own teams. Hunter saying that the hit on Humphreys was clean, and then obviously Jussi Ahokas didn't agree, and then the other side, Dale Hunter said it was a late hit on Denver Barkey, and Jussi Ahokas didn't have a problem with that. So both coaches saying they were wrong in that, the gamesmanship, the things that happened in the series. We didn't have those explosive sound bites or fireworks tonight, but what did you think so far? Is it everything you expect from a London-Kitchener Western Conference final?
Yeah, I would say so. Probably about like 75%. It's kind of what we expected at the end of the day. I thought these games would be a little bit closer. It's a Midwest Division matchup. Funny enough for the Knights, this is their third straight Midwestern rival they're playing in the playoffs here. But I thought the scores would be a little bit tighter. But we're kind of seeing what we saw between the Kitchener Rangers and Windsor Spitfires in the semifinals through the first two games, where it was Windsor essentially in complete control and not lopsided victories, but, convincing victories, I guess is the best way to put it. And, there's no love lost between these two clubs. They're not fans of each other. That's evident throughout the entire season series. But from a London Knights standpoint, to dominate as much as they have, 100% saw this being the case. For the Rangers, thought their starts would be better than they have been. And we heard Jussi Ahokas, and I guess our listeners will hear it in a few minutes or upcoming in this show. But, he's not a fan of the starts either. Obviously, 2 shots in the first period in this afternoon's game, not ideal. But again, I think it's still early enough in the series that the Rangers have an opportunity to bounce back. And I think the one thing that works in their benefit is it's 24 hours away. You're not waiting a day and having a little bit of, let's get at it. Come on, hurry up, get this game going. It's going to be right. It's going to be right tomorrow, 24 hours from now, or less than 23 hours from now. But, and I think that benefits the Kitchener Rangers is they can wipe the plate clean and get started right away in Game 3 in front of their home crowd too. So to this point, totally not surprised by how London's playing. A little bit for the Kitchener Rangers, though.
9,061 the attendance here at Canada Life Place tonight for Game 2. I expect it to be a sold-out barn there tomorrow night, Monday night at the Odd, Reece. One of the best rinks in all of junior hockey. Just an iconic place to catch a game, to watch a game. Yep. And the Rangers will come out with their best effort. But we'll get into it with the scoring summary. You mentioned the shots on net being so lopsided in the first period. Kitchener only had 2 shots in the first to London's 12. It was 41-25 at the end of it in favor of the London Knights. And again, both teams 14 shots in the second, London 15-9 in the third. But obviously, once again for a second straight game, Jussi Ahokas is not going to be happy with his team's start because they dug themselves a hole once again.
Yeah, they really did. And it started early again. It's not like it was we're cruising through the middle of the period, no score, and then London gets up 1-0. No, it's like 4 minutes, 11 seconds. The Knights find the back of the net. Nurmi with his first of the playoffs. Amazing to think that's only his first. He's been such a dynamic player this season for the London Knights. But it starts early. And for the Knights, it was kind of deja vu. Like, hey, let's get on the same roll we did in game number 1. Let's score early. Let's score often. Was scoring for 4 goals in period 1 in game number 1. Only get 2 here, and only. But a 2-goal period is still one heck of an accomplishment. Doing it 3 times in this game. But 4:11 in, it's 1-0. Then you head late into the first period. Just under 4 minutes to go in the first. It's Cam Allen with an absolute snipe, and yeah, it was London being London. They were really good to kick things off, and not just good in the offensive zone, but obviously in their own zone. I mean, to only give up 2 shots is a huge accomplishment, especially with the firepower that the Kitchener Rangers have up front. So, nice for Austin Elliott. Obviously, he gets not a period off, but pretty close to a period off, only seeing 2 pucks come his way. But for the Knights, it was as close to a perfect period as you could possibly have. I'm sure they'll nitpick and find little plays that they maybe didn't like, but from a fan or media standpoint, that's a textbook home period for the London Knights. You outshoot your opponent 12-2, you outscore them 2-0, and you are in command of this hockey game heading into the intermission.
Both teams 1 for 4 on the power play tonight, which we'll get into in the scoring summary. But Kitchener finally finds a way to break through on the power play in the series, something they haven't done so far. And even going back to their series against Windsor was something that they struggled with. Obviously not having Christian Humphreys and Adrian Misljevic is not going to help them in that sense. But London without Denver Barkey put Jacob Julian up there, and he ends up having a fantastic game. Just next man up for the London Knights. And again, Denver Barkey's a major loss. Don't get me wrong, as the captain for everything that he does on the ice in both ends. But if there's any team to overcome, a key loss, you'd think it'd be this London Knights team with how deep they are with 13 NHL prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no break for the Kitchener Rangers. If the Knights lose a guy, well, Julian steps up and gets 4 points and is a +2. And it's just for them, it's not so much, if we lose a guy, it's going to have to really be a team effort. And as much as it's a team game, Dale Hunter highlighted that in his post game. But, for the Knights, they just got the next guy ready to go. It's not a struggle to find offense if you lose a guy, especially your captain. They're very easily able to make that up. And obviously some line juggling. You might expect a little bit of, I don't want to say you're waiting for them to to get comfortable. It might take 20 minutes or so, but I think when you have a team as mature and as skilled as the London Knights do, that's not really an issue. So Dale Hunter knows that if he has to switch lines throughout a series, if he has to make those adjustments in game, then it's not going to be an issue. And for some teams it is, but for the London Knights, when you have, like you said, 13 NHL picks, and they're going to add a couple more heading into next season, with guys taken this summer. Obviously, you'll lose some more than likely, but it's fairly easy for the guys they have to step up, because they understand that it doesn't take one guy. As much as not having the man with the C in the lineup might hurt, they can make up for it pretty easily.
Faceoffs 40-33 in favor of the London Knights. Their best men on the dot tonight. Julian was 12 of 17 to go along with his 4 points, as you mentioned. Sam O'Reilly, 12 of 22. Will Nickel, only 5 of 14. Landon Sim, 5 of 6 when he had to come in as a winger, as well as Casper Halton in 3 of 3 as wingers stepping in on the draw. Kitchener side, 9 of 20 for Luca Romano, 7 of 10 for Cam Mercer, and 7 of 13 for Luke Ellenis. I noticed, especially on the penalty kill, Reece, we've talked about this ad nauseum in the last round as well, with London, like the way that they win defensive zone draws. Denver Barkey's another one that can step in and take these draws as well. When they start off by winning a defensive zone draw in the penalty kill, and they're able to kill 20 or 30 seconds off the opposing team's power play, that's why they're so successful when it comes to being down a man, and why they've had so much success in this playoff so far.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And that's one thing I was watching in this game. You think about those extra advantages you can give yourself. Whether it be 5-on-5, whether it be down, you only have 4 guys and you're on the penalty kill, or if you're up 5-on-4, to get that first face off. And for the first 2-man advantages, for the Kitchener power play, London wins that face off. London won that face-off. It was Ryder Bolton. He got the instigator, along with the fighting major against McNeil. So London's able to get the face-off, send it down the ice. Kitchener really didn't get set up in the offensive zone draw. They did for maybe 20, 25 seconds after getting an entry, but it didn't seem like a comfortable power play for the Kitchener Rangers. And again, that's the effectiveness of winning that opening face-off off of the penalty. And then you look at the Kitchener Rangers taking their first minor penalty. It was Reed for hooking. They do the same. They win that opening draw for the power play for the Knights, and they send it all the way down. And again, the Knights were able to get set up, but again, that face-off win for the Rangers did make it a little bit difficult for the London Knights to do so in the offensive zone. And then start tracking these as the first period goes on. Woolley then takes an interference call, and Kitchener was able to win that face-off. But again, it was a power play that didn't look as comfortable as you would expect it to. And again, we're watching from a press box. We're watching from home on TV. It's obviously a different feeling on the bench and on the ice, but that's the Knights' penalty kill. And whether they get the opening draw or not, they're gonna challenge you like mad. They're gonna make you feel uncomfortable in those situations. And there was a 5-on-3 advantage for the Kitchener Rangers in this game as well. And with the London Knights, they're playing the triangle, right? So you've got those 2 guys around the hash marks, maybe a little bit deeper, and then you've got that one guy out at the top of the slot area. And to be honest, you feel like there's a ton of open ice. It's kind of like you get the 4-on-4, so you get 2 guys off the ice, or 3-on-3 overtime, and you've got so much space to work with, where the Knights were down 2 guys, but it didn't feel like there was a lot of space out there for the Rangers to operate. The Knights weren't challenging them a ton, but they took a lot of space away, if that makes a lot of sense. Again, it was a power play that looked a little bit uncomfortable, and albeit it wasn't the longest 5-on-3 advantage in the world, but the Knights looked like they were in complete control in those moments when they were down a man, and obviously they did give up a power play goal in this game, but it it seemed hard to find any flaws with their penalty kill and what they were doing and trying to take away from the Rangers.
Before we get into the scoring summary, Reese, we did have a couple of tilts in this game. We had Ryder Bolton and Andrew McNeil going at it. Shocker with Ryder Bolton. Seems like every game he gets the guys fired up with a tussle. And then the second one was actually Van Bommel, who is in this game. Was in last game for Van Gorp, and now he's playing because of Denver Barkey, so he's kind of jumped up there and given them a spark in that fourth line. And then Matthew Hillichar is the other guy that's really been, going at it with London through these first two games. He got a couple of misconducts a misconduct in last game. I think he received one as well today. A couple of penalties. It really seems like he's trying to go at some of the London Knights, and they're really giving it to him. So there's already been some spirited tilts already. 2 in the last game, 2 in today's game. It's what you would expect from a Kitchener and London series.
Yeah, and you know what? That second fight made absolutely zero sense to me. There was a hit. It really wasn't a big hit. It was a shoulder check, and the Knights player went down, but it really wasn't malicious. It wasn't really that hard of a hit, to be honest with you. Like that second fight didn't make a whole lot of sense about why it happened. And obviously in this matchup, if you want to set the tone for a period, a game, whatever the case may be, totally expect there to be some Tillies here in this series. That one made no sense to me. And it led to a power play for the Rangers, and that's the one they scored on.
Yep.
That was the tying goal. Like that, to me, it didn't seem like a big enough hit check. Tie up wasn't really a tie up, I guess, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And in that moment, Trent Swick scores. It's a 2-1 game. Yeah, London's still in control of the scoreboard, but you can start to feel the Rangers getting some momentum and start moving up ice with more authority and, getting a lot more pressure on goal. Obviously, after a 2-shot period, then you come out and fire 14. That's a nice adjustment or readjustment, you could say, for the Kitchener Rangers, and they started to come at Elliott. And so to me, that's a situation where, yeah, you want to stand up for your guys if there's a big hit, but to me, that's not a big enough hit that you go after somebody to get in a fight and take them off the ice, because the Rangers had momentum. You're going to get an instigator for coming in. So I think in that moment, you just have to hold yourself back. And again, I understand what Van Bommel is trying to do and stand up for his teammates. But I think in that moment, with how the game was starting to progress, with the Rangers starting to get a lot more pressure on goal, it's going to automatically lead to a penalty because of the instigator. It made no sense to me. It really didn't, and that's not a knock at Van Bommel at all, but I think you just have to be a little bit more aware of where the game is at and understand that maybe you don't need a fight right now. As much as the momentum may have been on the Rangers' side at that point and you're trying to get it back on your side, I don't think that was the best way to do it in that moment.
No, you described it perfectly. I think there was a time and a place, and I understand Van Bommel coming in as a guy who wants to make an impact, but
Yep.
You ended up giving the Rangers the momentum in that, and they ended up tying the game after they scored the power play goal. So really was an adverse effect in that sense, and I think Van Bommel learned from that as he goes forward. But, they just wanted to kind of drop the gloves at any point today, and I know the head coach, Dale Hunter, and the coaching staff will definitely tell him that there's a time and a place to kind of pull it back, and that was definitely one, as you described perfectly there. We'll get into the scoring summary quickly. You mentioned the Knights jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Jussi Nurmi with his first goal of the playoffs. Really nice wrist shot up top, and then later in the first period it was Cam Allen, and that was an NHL type of shot there. You could see why he was a draft pick of the Washington Capitals and signed both times, going upstairs on Jackson Parsons, who's been so good for the Rangers this season, but being able to beat him with 2 shots up high gives momentum to the London Knights on the home side with 2 goals early on.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's one thing is if you're the London Knights, and obviously Parsons, he's going to find a way to get back to what we're used to seeing. 6 goals isn't normal against Parsons, and I think we kind of saw that as the Windsor Spitfire series went on between the Spits and Rangers, where the first 3 games were like okay, where's Jackson Parsons? When is he going to enter this series? And then you saw it in the last 3 games. He had 2 shutouts in those games to force a game 7 with the Spits. And then he was dialed in for a game 7, was phenomenal through regulation and overtime and helped his team pick up a victory at the WFCU Center. And we're kind of at that moment now. And not to say that we haven't seen what we're used to seeing with Jackson Parsons. I mean, he went full on Dominic Hasek there in the second period with a phenomenal save, trying the 2-pad stack and getting it with the glove. Like, that was, you don't see that very often anymore. So when you do see it, it's something to watch 3, 4, 5 times after it happens. And, you know, we've seen moments where Jackson Parsons is on, but I think more times than not in this series, and this is not fully on Parsons. Obviously, I think there's coverages that have been missed in the first 2 games, and the coaching staff for the Rangers will try to clean that up. And all of these goals are not on Parsons. However, I think when you get those not necessarily straight shots, but those shots that hit nothing and go directly by you, maybe it's positioning, maybe it's you're just going down a little bit early, or you're starting a little bit too low and you can't get the blocker or glove back up in time. Whatever the case might be, I think those are 2 goals that I don't want to say shouldn't have gone in, but I think if you're Parsons and looking back at them, maybe you get a little bit out further, or maybe you try to, I don't want to say cheat, because you can't really do that against the Knights because they'll find those holes, but definitely 2 really good shots, and they clearly beat Parsons cleanly. So credit to the shooters, but also as a goaltender, and I think Colin Ward can attest to this, is those straight shots goaltenders like to have.
Oh yeah, Colin Ward loves to talk about goaltending. The great goaltender he was in his time. I don't know about that, but he definitely knows about the position, and we love Colin. Happy birthday to him this weekend. But we'll move forward here as we go on with the scoring summary. You mentioned in the second period there that Van Bommel, fight turns into the Trent Swick goal. That was the second goal for Luca Romano on the power play. Trent Swick gets the first one on the board from Jack Pridham and Andrew Vermeulen. This is a great play by the Rangers to kind of cycle it down low. It was Andrew Vermeulen, the former Ice Dog, finding Jack Pridham on, I guess, the half wall there, and he makes a great cross-ice feed to Trent Swick, who's able to get in tight there and put that one in and to give the Rangers their first goal. And that's what you really need to do. If they're going to have any chance in the series, they really need to cycle the puck well on the London Knights, who do defend well, but they showed that they can be had at times. And if you work hard like that, you're going to be able to get yourself rewarded. And then 1 minute and 10 seconds into the second period, we thought, okay, Kitchener's going to make a game of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Trent Swick's size, 6'6", 208, you kind of find it hard to believe that guys could forget him or miss him coming, whether it be into the zone, whether it be trying to duck behind the D, just because he is so big. But that's a play where Swick finds himself alone behind a couple of Knights players who got, and albeit you have to give credit where credit's due. Jack Pridham is a really good player, and you have to pay attention to him. But give credit to Swick for sneaking behind the London Knights players and essentially all alone against Elliott one-on-one, and it was Swick scoring his 7th. But all around great play. And a minute 10 in, it's those goals that are 2.5 minutes either into a period or with 2.5 minutes to go in a period that can make the difference, and seems to make a big difference for certain teams where it just rattles them enough where they lose focus for a little bit of time. And you know what, to be honest with you, not to say the Knights lost focus after this goal, but a minute 10 in, Swick gives the Rangers some life, and all of a sudden, unfortunately, they took a penalty, which kind of stops the momentum a little bit. But then Pridham breaks in on a shorthanded breakaway and could have easily made it 2-2, but Elliott standing tall, obviously. But then the Rangers, you have that fight, and then Romano scores to make it 2-2, and it's like, man, if Pridham could have scored shorthanded, like 3-2 Rangers, who knows what we would have been seeing midway through the second period. So, yeah, Swick, he did a nice job getting in behind some bodies for the Knights and beating Elliott, and really did a nice job getting his team some momentum, getting them some energy early into the middle frame. And really, this was their best stretch of hockey throughout the 60 minutes here in Game 2.
They've played their best hockey in the middle periods of both games, but again, starting a little bit too late has been the problem for the Rangers. They make this game 2-2, as you mentioned, on the Luca Romano short side goal. I think Austin Elliott wants that one back. That was one that you'd expect him to have on the short side, but Luca Romano's third goal already through the two games, definitely been the Rangers' best player offensively, even though they're down 2-0 in the series to make it 2-2. And then you thought, okay, Kitchener gained the momentum here. It's a 2-2 game, and then we had later in the second period, you mentioned the goals right at the before and end of the period. This one was with less than 5 minutes left in the period. They cycle it down low. Noah Reed, able to get off the cycle down low, finds Oliver Bonk for the one-timer on the right circle, and he goes far side on Parsons. And that just felt like it took the air out of the Kitchener Rangers because they fought back so hard in this game to tie it up. And then, late in the period, they give up that one off just kind of a broken play down low that finds Oliver Bonk out front. And then all of a sudden, London has the lead again.
Yeah, you said that perfectly. It kind of took the wind out of the sails for the Kitchener Rangers a little bit. And yeah, for having such a good second period to give a couple up, to be honest with you. But we'll start with the first one. Both with less than 5 minutes to go. It's it's one thing to get tied, and obviously you got to start there. If you're the Rangers down 2-0 after one, you have to get tied first, and then you work hard enough to try and get the lead. And for this game, it kind of felt like as the second period was going on, whoever gets the next one, it's going to be a big moment and a big point or turning point of the game where it's like, who knows what'll happen if the Rangers make it 3-2. For one, I can tell you Canada Place would be quiet because you just give up 3 in the middle frame. Rangers have all the momentum. You're like, the Knights fans are all of a sudden in shock. They're like, whoa, 2-0 after one. Now we're down 3-2. It's like, what the heck happened? But for the Knights, they're able to sort of put the first half of the second period behind them. Bonk, with a great shot. We know he's got it. We know we're going to be seeing that in the NHL one day. He does a phenomenal job to beat Parsons and to get the Knights the lead back. And from that point on, it did kind of feel like the Knights were back in control, like we're used to seeing. And then, they obviously carried it on throughout the rest of the second and then into the third period as well.
You mentioned first of their 2 goals at the end of the second. And this one really felt like the backbreaker for me, Reece. It was almost like the Dickinson goal at the end of game, or at end of the first period in Game 1, where he makes it 4-0 when the Rangers, had some momentum, and then they give up the fourth one late in the period. You mentioned even later in the period, Jared Woolley takes a point shot, and this one just happens to hit Jacob Julian's stick and beats Parsons to make it 4-2. And those 2 goals, the Bonk goal at 15:49 and the Julian goal at 17:26, those 2 really just did it for me as far as what, the Rangers' momentum going into the third period was basically over at that point because London gets 2 quick ones there. And you could just see from the bench, like it just felt like that was their moment to really put it away. And obviously London, they just did what they did in the third period to get on the bus and get down to Kitchener for Game 3 on Monday.
Yeah. You know what? I look at this game as like it had 3 different parts.
Yep.
And that's not period. That's for obviously first period, the Knights in control, no doubt. You only give up 2 shots. Safe to say the Knights were in control for that first period. Then you head to the second, and it's about 10 to 15 minutes where it's part 2, and the Kitchener Rangers are in control. And really, that was the first time in this playoffs that, from a London Knights standpoint, at least as me, watching them play and watching them sweep the Owen Sound Attack, sweep the Erie Otters, where this was the first time in the playoffs where I'm like, this might be the first time the Knights are actually feeling the most pressure or the most nerves they have throughout the postseason. And again, we're watching from a press box. We're watching from TV, whatever the case might be. We're not actually on the ice or on the bench, so I could be way out in left field with this. But when the Rangers were in control to start the second and into the middle of the second period, that was the first time for the Knights that I'm like, oh, are they going to lose their first? That's really the first time I felt like they had a chance to fall in a game. But then you get to part 3, and that's at the 15:49 mark of the second. And then for goal number 4 at 17:26, where it's like, oh, no, it was just a lapse for about 10, 15 minutes. It was a little bit of a lull for the London Knights, which obviously you can't have. It's those lull moments that can make or break a hockey game. But part 3, they were able to regain control of the hockey game. And then you're absolutely right. After that Julian tip goes in, yeah, okay, I think the Knights are where they're supposed to be at this point. They are the better team right now. They're in control again of the game, and that carried into the third period for a couple more. So that's the way I look at this one. Is you have part 1 in the first, you have part 2 for about 10 to 15 minutes in the second, and then the rest of the time was part 3 where the Knights were in control again. Yeah,
the 2 more goals by the Knights in the third period. Blake Montgomery was the first one to make it 5-2. Just a weird bounce. It seemed like some of the weird bounces went London's way tonight, but again, that's momentum for you. And then Jacob Julian on the power play, as Brzustewicz found him beside the net, and he was able to sweep that one past Parsons for his 4th point of the night. 2 goals, 2 assists for the Winnipeg Jets prospect Jacob Julian. I get these guys mixed up. They got so many NHL prospects sometimes. It's hard to keep track of who's on what team, but Jacob Julian caps off a great game. 2 goals, 2 assists, stepping up in the absence of their captain Denver Barkey, and just goes to show that how much depth this team has. Without a guy like Denver Barkey, they're still able to win it 6-2. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from post-game from both representatives from the Kitchener Rangers and the London Knights, and as well we'll get Reece's player of the game later on. So stay right here. We'll be right back on OHL Overtime right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network and our OHL playoff game recap. We'll be right back after this.
The great guys over at Hockey Stick Man are sponsoring this video. If you play hockey but are sick of paying upwards of $400 for top-end sticks, check these guys out. There's seriously no better place to shop. The guys are fun, easy, and offer a stress-free experience from start to finish. They get pro stock sticks from major junior teams right up to the NHL teams and sell them for half the price that the same stick would sell for at a retail store. To further support their mission of saving hockey families money, they offer closeout options, which entail taking last year's retail models and blowing them out for less than wholesale prices. It's literally the best prices on the internet for their sticks. And the best sticks of all may be their Pro Blackout series, which provide a top-end stick with no graphics and literally less than half the price of a branded top-end retail model. It's always been their best-selling stick despite super cool pro stock options. It's a no-brainer to shop with these guys, and trust me, they are beauties. Head over to hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm and get $15 off your first order. That's hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm to get an additional $15 off your first order when you sign up on their website. Check out our friends at Hockey Stick Man. Fourth Wall is the official merchandise supplier of the Armchair GM Sports Network. Our user-friendly site is print to order with no minimum items or inventory needed, shipped right to your doorstep safely and efficiently from the North American warehouse. All of our logos are available to supporters, listeners, and viewers can have the best variety available to them for their swag preferences. All items are priced as low as possible, allowing everybody who wants to support our business with the opportunity to do so, receiving quality and comfortable products in return. Shop today at fourthwall.com with a direct link to our Armchair merch store in the description of all episodes and in the bio of all of our social media accounts. Become an Armchair GM today with Fourth Wall.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's OHL Overtime game recap of Game 2 of the OHL Western Conference Final between the London Knights and the Kitchener Rangers here at Canada Life Place. London taking it by a 6-2 score. Brandon Caputo and Reece Doumani of the OHL in 60 podcast are back with you, continuing to break down this game. We're going to hear from both representatives here shortly. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. As well, give us a follow on X at Armchair GM Pod, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for all of our short reels and content. So, Reece, before we get to the Kitchener Rangers postgame with Jussi, Ahokas and Trent, Swick, again, we had about, I think it was 28 or 29 penalties in last game, in game one. Not quite as many in today's game, but it just seems like London running three lines, and then they throw that fourth line out there of Bolton and Van Bommel and whoever else they want to put on there, and it just gives them so much momentum. It gives them a momentum boost in this game, and the Rangers are kind of fighting their emotions, and it seems like, London's definitely got them going right now. It all started 40 seconds into the series with the big hit on Christian Humphreys by Casper Haltonen that was reviewed for a 5. No suspension, no penalty, and obviously that's been upsetting to the Rangers players and their coaching staff. But if you're the Rangers, Reece, how do you kind of, reset, get this thing back on track and know that, it's the first team to win 4?
Yeah, that's the big thing. And I mean, they went through it just one round to go. You're absolutely right. It's the first to 4. It's not the first to 2, or, in the situation they were in with the Spitfires, it's not the first to 3. It is the first to 4. So, I hate the old, you're not in trouble till you lose at home. I'm not really big on that. I believe it to a certain extent, because obviously if you take care of business at home, you just have to win 1 on the road, and it would end up being a game number 7 in London. But you can find ways to win on the road and be successful. Like, it's, I'm not big on the you're not in trouble till you lose at home, but for the Rangers, like, for the to play the London Knights is a different animal than the Spitfires. And, I'm a firm believer, and I'll die on this hill, that the toughest opponent for the London Knights is in this Western Conference Finals. And whether it was going to be the Spitfires or whether it was going to be the Rangers, I believe one of those two teams are going to be London's toughest test. And that's no disrespect at the Barrie Colts. That's no disrespect at the Oshawa Generals. Whoever gets through to the OHL Championship Series, this is the toughest opponent the Knights are going to face until they get to the Memorial Cup. If they obviously win the OHL Championship, which I think they will. But I think for the Kitchener Rangers, you just have to keep it as simple as possible. And as easy as that might sound, it's not going to be, but the simpler the better. This is a series you're not going to win by making pretty plays. It'll help, but it's not a series where you're going to win by, pulling a Datsuki and Deke and doing the toe drag going top shelf, or, the Forsberg where you go to one hand and try to slide it past the goaltender, or you try the toe drag through the legs and go around the D. It's going to be really tough to win that way. You're going to win by keeping it simple, being hard on the forecheck, and making sure you're back in your own zone. And that's not to say the Rangers have to play careful and play safe hockey by having guys back, but I think that means you have to be aware of where your opponent is a little bit more than you have in games 1 and 2. For the Rangers, you get to a point, and the start has a big part of this. They have to be way better in the first period. But if you find yourself not chasing the game, then you don't have to start taking chances early on in games. For the Rangers, and actually, this is for any team playing the Knights. If you get down, let's say 2 goals, and you're heading into the third period, against this London Knights team, it kind of feels like you have to start taking chances a minute into the third period, because they're going to be very limited compared to, we're with 8 minutes to go. We're going to probably start to see the D jump into the play. You kind of feel like you have to start that right at the beginning of the third. So I think for the Rangers, you have to find your way ahead. If you can get up 1-0, that's huge, but keep it as simple as possible. Don't try to be the team that makes the highlight film every single night. Just keep it simple and stick to the the fundamentals. Be good at the little things in the game, and that'll translate to success in big moments where you're pressing and you find a way to get one past Elliott, or you're under siege but you're you have great defensive positioning in your own zone. It's not necessarily getting your stick in a lane. It's not necessarily getting your foot in a lane. It's if you're positioned correctly, then it's very tough for the Knights to find holes and to get the puck towards the middle of the ice. So I think the simpler the better for the Rangers. They're headed home. And again, 24 hours later, after game number 2, you get into game number 3. So I think that is the best case scenario for the Rangers is flush this one, get home, sleep in your own bed, get ready to see 7,000 plus at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium.
London improves to 10-0 so far in the 2025 OHL playoffs, and Austin Elliott has still only lost 1 game the entire OHL season, which is crazy to think about. And you mentioned about the not worried until you lose at home. I'm in agreement to that, but only for the team that has home ice advantage, because technically, if you win all 4 games at home, you're good. If you're the team that doesn't have home ice advantage, you're going to have to win at least 1 game on the road. So I get the analogy if you're the team with home ice advantage, but I'm with you. There's that saying might be overused a little bit, but those hockey slangs and everything like that, we got to love them when we get the press conferences. But speaking of that, let's get to the first audio today. It is with Kitchener Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas and Vegas Golden Knights prospect and veteran forward Trent Swick. Here's what they had to say following the game.
Post-game coverage of Game 2 of the Western Conference Championship Series. Today's final 6-2 in favor of the London Knights, joined now by Kitchener Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas along with forward Trent Swick. Coach, similar outcome on the scoreboard as Game 1, but your team certainly showed some glimpses this afternoon. Maybe you can share your thoughts on the game.
I thought we had the first period we weren't there. They had a lot of good ozone time. Our offense wasn't there. We hadn't needed more first period for sure. And then D-zone, we have to be better. Our D-zone, we made similar mistakes what we did also the first game, so we have to get those out. And but yeah, second period we had our moments. We got 2-2. We had our few chances to score 3-2, 2-2, 5 minutes left, and then you give up 2. You give up 2 easy goals, like not easy goals, but you give up 2 goals there, and that's shouldn't happen. And then third period we had to push there for a minute and a half. It was in their zone, and then they get a rush and they score. But it doesn't really help. It's playoffs, and now it's 2-0 for London, and now we're heading to Kitch, and like they say, you're a problem. First time you're in trouble when you lose the first game at home. So, yeah, we weren't there. We have to be better tomorrow.
Trent, a goal for yourself this afternoon as one of the veterans on this team. Over the next 24 hours leading into Game 3, how do you speak to your teammates leading into that game?
Yeah, I think we all know we can be better, and hopefully we can show it tomorrow night. Hopefully we can bring it, and I know everyone wants to win in that locker room, and yeah, we just need to show it.
Guys, we'll take questions. Just ask that you speak up when you ask. A little bit of noise outside the door here. Josh, do you want to start?
Yeah, you see 4-0 in the game 1, 2-0 tonight, just 2 shots in the first period. How do you feel it starts your team had in this series so far, and how does that affect the rest of the game when it starts?
No, I thought today it didn't affect. We got into the second period and it didn't affect. We were 2-2 for quite a while. Of course, we have to be better. You can't let it. And then again, like quite early in the game, they got the first goal. So same in the first game. So we have to be better on that. It will be a total different ball game if you score the first one, and that's where we have to be dialed in more.
What do you want to see in Kitchener from these guys to get back in this series?
Well, I guess there's a lot of things. Can't really. We have to be better. Nothing else. There's quite many things where we can be better.
Trent, what's it like? There's 2 games where you've had to chase this team you've been behind. What's it like against a team like this, having to fight from behind constantly? What's that like as a player?
It's tough. Obviously, we want to come out and get the lead early. We haven't seen what it's like to play against them when we have the lead yet, so hopefully we can do that in Game 3.
You've been here before. You guys are down 2 games home. Do you lean on that experience, or what does that do to the belief for the rest of the series?
Oh, 100%. It makes us, we've been here before, like you said, and we can lean on that. And yeah, we're not worried in the locker room right now, so hopefully we can use that past experience and bring it into Game 3.
Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, Jussi, Humphreys and Campbell missed today. How much do you guys miss those guys?
Well, that's playoffs. You lose guys, and then you have to go with the guys who you have. That's just how it goes. And then your guys, other guys come in and they have to step up. That's how I see it. It's a team sport.
Coach, seems like the second period's been your better period. You had to fight back today from 2-0, and in the last game as well. The second period is probably your best period of the series. What is it in that middle period that you guys can kind of take from that and try to put it together for the other periods?
Our ozone game, what we've done. That's where we in our forecheck counter pressure. That's where we've been better.
Anything further? Go ahead.
Trent, obviously it's pretty exciting to get back to the tomorrow. How excited are you to get back and see the fans and see your home ice crowd?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I heard it's packed tomorrow. It's sold out, so I'm looking forward to tomorrow at 7 p.m.
There were Trent, Swick, and Jussi Ahokas on the post game after Game 2. Reece, he said a lot of things we got to work on, but didn't really want to give too much away, obviously, in the public. But sounds like they know what they need to do in order to win this game. They've got to implement it tomorrow if they don't want to go down 3-0 in the series.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, absolutely. It you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't skate tomorrow morning, and just take it as a chance to look at video. That'll be way more effective for the Kitchener Rangers at this point than getting a morning skate in and trying to get things figured out. Ice size is the same. Only difference is the color of the seats and the smell around the building. Obviously, Kitchener Memorial Auditorium has that great roasted peanut smell or whatever the case might be. It's the only reason we go there. Who cares about the hockey? It's the only reason we go there. But really, realistically, that's the only difference. So I think, to be honest with you, it'll be way more effective for the Rangers to look at the video. And yeah, I don't blame Jussi for not going into details. I probably wouldn't either. The Knights don't need any more help trying to figure out how to beat the Kitchener Rangers. But yeah, video will be way more effective tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't skate tomorrow morning and just did a whole video session. Maybe take a little bit extra time. But yeah, there's quite a bit to work on if you're the Rangers. And I think there's more positives than a lot of people are going to take away for this Kitchener Rangers team. I think it's a massive accomplishment, the fact that you were able to fight back down 2 goals. Now, that might not seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things. Against the 2024-2025 London Knights, you better believe it is, because more times than not, they cruise to a victory up 2-0, and they don't really get a whole lot of pushback when they have a 2-0 lead. So I think that's one where the Rangers, you went down 2-0. It wasn't an awesome period, and Jussi kind of touched on this, like, it may have not had as big of an impact on the game as some people might think. Again, it is a great question to ask Jussi if it really did have that big of an effect. But he said, no, it was 2-2, and we played that way for a bit. And, obviously you don't want 2 shots in a period. You'd like to be able to match your opponent, of course. But that doesn't necessarily lead to less goals or less pucks going in your net. So I like the way he put that no, we were able to work back, get to 2-2 and play 2-2 for a while before the Knights scored their 3rd goal. So it's going to be a big video day tomorrow. Definitely a ton to work on, but to remember that you've got your fans there. It's going to be a sold-out crowd, like Swick had mentioned. And you just got to focus on one game at a time, one period at a time, because that's what you have to do. There's no Game 4 before you play Game 3, so you got to focus on Game 3 and take it from there.
And quickly, I know you mentioned that injuries happen in playoffs, but when you lose Christian Humphreys, who has 10 points in 13 playoff games for them, as well as Carson Campbell, who Josh Brown from The Record talks about is so valuable for them as far as blocking shots in that back end, and he's really one of those veterans back there that kind of is the sheriff back there, kind of directing everybody, showing the young guys, how to really play defensive hockey. When you lose those 2 guys, and then you're already out Adrian Misljevic as well, like things are just starting to pile up for the Kitchener Rangers, as we saw with their opponents, the Windsor Spitfires in round 2 when they had so many injuries. Neither team's going to make excuses of that, but especially when you're going up against the London Knights, who are so deep up front and on the back end, when you lose a couple of guys, it's really hard to overcome.
Yeah, it really is, because you don't have that buffer of the regular season where, yeah, we might have some guys out. Maybe we'll lose 3, 4, 5 in a row, but then we can get on a roll and try and make up that ground. You don't have that luxury, right? If you lose 4 in a row, you're done. And the Kitchener Rangers, tough losses, but UC's right. You can't whine about it. You can't sulk about it. Just the next guy has to step up, and obviously it's tough to match the talent that the guys have who are out for the Kitchener Rangers. But you have to try as hard as possible to get to that level, and that's where those promotions from maybe the third to the second line and then the second to the first line make that big of a difference. Whereas the guys coming into the lineup who maybe were scratched for a game 1 or a game 2, if they come in, you're maybe not necessarily looking for them to be a first or second line guy. You expect those guys to be promoted from the third and fourth line, whereas those guys from the press box will move into the third or fourth line role. So, you really just have to try as hard as possible to get to the level where those guys who are hurt, you have to make that up. It's hard, but it's the playoffs, and the best way to put it is just suck it up and go play the game. You don't have to change a whole lot. If you play the way you have been all season long, it's going to be tough, obviously, but yeah, next man up. Let's go. There's no time to lose with game 3 being tomorrow.
Let's get to the London Knights side with head coach Dale Hunter, as well as defenseman Henry Brzustewicz, who can be easily mistaken for his brother Hunter, who played 4 years with the Kitchener Rangers as well, that you'll hear Josh Brown quickly talk about. But here's what the London Knights had to say about their performance tonight.
Conference Championship Series. London Knights 6-2 winners this afternoon, taking a 2-0 series lead. Joined by Knights head coach Dale Hunter, along with defenseman Henry Brzustewicz. Coach, you had to like what you saw from your team today. Maybe a little of a blip there at the start of the second, but a good recovery.
Yeah, it was. We came up pretty well again, but they tied it up, and then we kind of had a good end of the second and scored a couple.
Henry, 2 assists for yourself, but sometimes it's the things that aren't on the score sheet that make the difference in games. Of course, a few big defensive plays out there. How does it feel to be able to contribute?
Yeah, great. I just playing with a really good D partner there, and I kind of just want to be an anchor for him, and help out our goalie there. So,
questions? Ryan, did you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, how key was they were talking about Henry's plays, and there was an Austin Elliott that stopped shorthanded. How key were those plays when it was kind of in the balance?
Yeah, the game was tight there, and some big plays like that. That's what we want from our guys, and they came up big tonight.
And Henry, is your brother watching, and how proud would he be of your effort despite bleeding blue?
Yeah, he'll be fired up. He said he wants me to be the best guy in the series, but he wants them to win. So they just lost, so he'll be back now. So
Brandon?
Coach, how do you think your team battled without your captain, Denver Barkey? Obviously, you had to switch up the lines a little bit. How do you think that they did in 86 absence?
No, they did well. They played as a team and moved the puck around very well in O-zone and created a lot of chances.
Dale, how do you think you lose a catalyst on the power play specifically? Is that a work in progress, or do you think did they find it at the end there?
But again, we were Denver was out for periods of time for a month or so during the season, so we had to work it again. Back then, we just went back to the same one we had before then.
Henry, at points last year you were playing forward for this team, and now you're one of the anchors in the back end. Just talk about your game and how you've developed from last year to this year and being such a staple back there.
Yeah, I kind of just trusted the process, did anything the team needed to win, and kind of just trusted the coaches, and now getting my chance and kind of going with it.
Go ahead, Josh.
Sorry, I almost called you Hunter there after interviewing your brother for 4 years. Henry, did you tell me what the loss of Barkey means to the players, and sort of was there a sense that was he on your mind when you were playing for him?
Yeah, we want to play for him. Obviously, he's our captain, he's our leader, and guys just got to step up and when he's gone. So I think all the boys stepped up big today, and really happy with it.
There was Henry Brzustewicz and Dale Hunter on the postgame following Game 2, winning 6-2 over the Kitchener Rangers. Reece, a couple minutes left here before we get your player of the game. I liked what they said about, Dale Hunter talked about when they missed Barkey earlier in the year. They went back to kind of what they were successful with Julian, obviously with the 2 goals, 2 assists. and then Henry Brzustewicz talking about, playing for their fallen captain, even though he's still a presence off the ice. They wanted to really, come out and show that they could, win one for him, and they definitely did that today.
Yeah, they did. By the way, before I really get into my thoughts on what they said, quote of the series or quote of the playoffs, he said he wants me to be the best guy in the series, but he wants them to win. Speaking about his brother Hunter. I have it up on Twitter. The OHL posted that quote. I just had to mention it because that could go down as the quote of the playoffs.
That's incredible.
I love that. I think, it's easy to say that, oh no, Hunter, he hates the Knights. He wants no part of the Knights no matter what, and he just wants the Rangers to win. But the fact that you can still cheer on a family member, but still have allegiance to the opponent, says a lot about Hunter and about that entire family, because it is hard, right? As much as you want to see your brother succeed, you want him to lose, and you want his season to be over, and you want to see the Rangers go on to the OHL Championship Series and play for a J. Ross Robertson Trophy. So I want to touch on that first. I thought that was awesome, and the fact that Hunter's going to be around, I think that's going to be really, really cool. Because as much as he's going to hate to see if the London Knights move on and eliminate the Rangers, obviously he's not going to like it. But if there's a photo opportunity on the ice somewhere, I'm sure he'll take it with his brother. But yeah, I think Dale kept it short and simple. He's a guy that really doesn't like to go too far into his answers. He just likes to get to the point and then move on. I think he did a really nice job explaining how well the team stepped up in Barkey's absence, and obviously you want him to play all 68 games in the regular season. You want him to play every single playoff game, which for the Knights it's been the minimum right now, 10 games through the middle of the Western Conference Championship Series here. But I think what happens off the ice with Barkey not being in the lineup, he's still having an impact on this team. He still has a say in what goes on. I'm sure he's in the video meetings. He's a big part of the preparations for this squad. So, the fact that, they go out and win it for him, for the leader, for the captain of their team, says a lot about what that locker room is like. And, I think for the London Knights, it is as much as they obviously love to have 13 NHL drafted players on their squad, like any team would, it really is a we more than an I culture. And that was evident the way Dale Hunter talks after games, the way whichever player joins him after games, the way they talk about their club and how much they want to win together and not just have guys get individual accomplishments. It's a team game, and the same as the Rangers, who have to step up with guys out of the lineup, the Knights have to do the same. So I think that that's one thing you really take away from what Dale and Henry said is, the team played really well, stepping up without their captain in the lineup.
Before we get out of here, we're going to put Reece on the spot with our Stick Tap of the Game, brought to you by Hockey Stick Man. Pro Stock Hockey Sticks for major junior teams right up to the NHL teams. For half the retail price, stress-free shopping experience from start to finish. Join their mission at hockeystickman.ca to join their mission of saving hockey families money. Reece, I would say Jacob Julian's going to be your player of the game, but maybe you have somebody else?
No, it'll be Jacob Julian. Points aside, I really liked his game away from the puck as well. And obviously with 4 points, you're going to have the puck more often than not. But, I thought he played a complete game today against the Kitchener Rangers to help his team get up 2-0. I will give a honorable mention to Henry Brzustewicz and the way he played, not only obviously getting a couple of helpers, but the way he played in his own defensive zone. And I think that played a huge role in the London Knights picking up the victory. But in terms of in the offensive zone, it's Jacob Julian. He was the best player on the ice for both clubs, and he earned first star. He was really, really good.
So, Reece, thanks so much for joining us for the great analysis today. Again, much appreciated on this Sunday night coming on and watching, what was another, fun game between the London Knights and the Kitchener Rangers. They'll be right back at it for Game 3 at the Odd, but, appreciate you hopping on and always love chatting.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, and I love these Midwestern matchups, London Knights and Kitchener Rangers. I wish we could see this playoff series every single year, but always happy to do it. Thanks for having me on, Brandon.
No worries. We'll talk to you again soon, Reece, and thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those listening the next day in your favorite on-demand audio platform. The London Knights take Game 2 of the Western Conference Final by a score of 6-2 in front of 9,061 here at Canada Life Place in London. So until we talk to you again after Game 4 at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium on Wednesday, for Reece Doumani, my name is Brandon Caputo. Have yourself a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you again very soon.